Why not? Nobody's on.
I mean, we're ready?
Who's the new council person on BZA?
All right, let's go, folks. I'm gonna call this meeting of the Munster Plan Commission to order for Tuesday, January 14th, 2025. Please set your phones on stun and let's all stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody, Happy New Year. Mr. Mendoza, please call roll.
Mr. Brandon,
Present.
Dr. Hopper,
Here.
Ms. Jones,
President?
Mr. Nolan,
Present.
Mr. Rappin,
Present.
Mr. Finkel,
Here.
Mr. Baker.
President, we have a quorum. We have new members already sworn in. Congratulations, gentlemen. Look forward to another year getting some stuff done. Next up on the agenda is the appointment to the Board of Zoning Appeals. We need a motion for a member. Who was the member last year, Sergio?
Roland,
Roland?
You mean the flag?
No, not yet.
BZA.
Oh, got it, okay. Oh,
I make a motion to have Roland Raffin as the appointed board to the zoning appeals.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Raffin.
Thank you.
Election officers is next up on the agenda. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, as for the Plan Commission officers, I'll make a motion to nominate Mr. Baker as the chair of the Plan Commission.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Thank you very much. I'll take it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One, okay, thank you.
I have a
What to do, vice, and we, yes, sir.
Chairman, I just have a question regarding the Board of Zoning Appeals. I thought we had two members from this plan commission go to the BZA. No, yes?
Are they same terms or are they
You
staggered?
do, but one is an appointment from the council, and one is an appointment from the planning commission.
I also serve on the BZA.
So we
I
do have
believe
two.
that I was an appointment
You
from
do
the
have two,
council,
it's just
correct?
one
The other
appointment from
appointment
this
is
body.
Right.
Mhm.
I just wanted not to interrupt everything, but make sure we're got it all the bases covered.
Okay, next up, we have to do a vice chair for this. Any nominations?
I'd like to nominate Roland Raffin for vice chair.
There's a motion and a second. Mr. Raffin, are you open to that?
Yes, I am.
There's a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Mr. Raffin as the vice.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. What's my other, is there another officer, Sergio?
The executive secretary.
We have to vote on you?
Yes.
Okay. I love government. I don't know if I can make a motion. Roland, could you do that for me, please?
Mr. Chair, I'll nominate Sergio for executive secretary.
There's a motion for Sergio. Are you open to that job, Mr. Mendoza? Yes, he says.
I'll second.
Oh, I'll
And a
second.
second.
Third.
Any discussion?
Nope.
Either none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? More appointments. This one to the plat committee. Who's our last appointment to the plat committee?
I believe it was Roland and myself.
Is there two this time or just one?
There's two.
All right, moving along. Let's go. Motions, any nominations?
I'm happy to keep doing it. It wasn't really.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to retain Ms. Brannigan and Mr. Rappin in this position.
There's motions there, a second.
I'll second.
And a second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, be there none. Thank you for your volunteer work to the town of Munster. Next up is the approval of minutes from December 10th, 2024.
Chairman, I
Yes.
think we need to vote on council's appointment to the BZA.
No, the council does that appointment.
We do that, Dave.
The town council does.
At the council
At
meeting.
the
At the
council
council
meeting?
meeting.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's already taken care of.
Okay,
Yep,
all right, I thought maybe,
there was no switchovers. We have everything. It's all taken care of.
very good, I
Move
just
forward.
want to make sure we got it all covered. Thank you, I'm sorry for interrupting.
That's all right. That's the approval of the minutes from December 10th, 2024. Motions, modifications. I have one question, just out of curiosity. There seems to be an extensive reference to code in this particular set of minutes. Is there a reason for that? I sat in that meeting. I sure remember going through that many codes. Is that just a regurgitation of the minutes that we just, or of the motions that were passed and the discussions of? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Significant amount of,
Yeah, that was the summary from the staff report.
okay. So is that a new path to be able to replicate the staff report in the minutes? The staff report, is that public record?
It is. My understanding is that there was some, a discrepancy with the recordings. And so, what was put together was from memory and discussions that occurred, and then it was sent out for additional feedback. That is my understanding of, what happened on December 10th.
A lot of celebrating happened since then. Is there a reason that we wouldn't make some reference that the recordings were challenged and there were some technical difficulties as it related to this particular meeting and put that in the minutes as well?
Yeah, we could do that.
Any other thoughts, motions?
There was a comment on the very first line. It usually says Munster Line Commission held its regular, and it was available by the town in an electronic meeting notice. That I took out.
Being available by Zoom, it'd almost be worthwhile, in my opinion, at least to me, said not to take it out, but to say it wasn't available. And they'll go silent on it, and then maybe also make reference that the recording, because the recording is different from the Zoom attendance, if I'm not mistaken. And then that way there's some record, so when somebody pulls all this up later, there's a reason why there's a unique layout,
Would you like to see it at the very top there?
as long as it's in there.
That's October 29th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes with the corrections added.
There's a motion, there's a second?
Second.
And a second, any discussion? Either none, all in favor of approving the minutes with the modification, say aye. Opposed? Moving right along. Next up, preliminary hearings. Welcome to a new year. First up is PC 25-001. Preliminary plat. Mr. David Adia, Powers Health requests approval of a preliminary plat, Powers Health 800 MacArthur. Lot 1 located at 800 MacArthur Boulevard. Mr. Mendoza, a lot of P's and MacArthur's happening.
Yes, so this is one of set of the three requests that are tied together essentially. They are leading towards the approval or recommendation for the rezone to PUD. What we're looking at is the site here, which is bordered by McCarthy, Commerce Lane, Conner Avenue, about 175 feet north of Franklin. Currently, just this parcel or this legal description that identifies this as a recent PUD amendment, PUD change, I should say, for the addition of the 2-story to 3-story parking garage. And so this is the parcel that they are wanting to combine into one lot of record. Currently, the parcel 1 is identified as a lot of record. It's part of Fairview Meadows, 24th edition, block 1. Parcel 2 is a meets and bounds parcel. Parcel 3 is also a meets and bounds parcel. The goal is to combine all these into one lot of record identified as Powers Health 800 MacArthur, for incorporating it into the future rezone to PUD. Nothing is changing, other than, the clarification. Let's see if I can find this. The use of the right of ways. Currently, some of the parcels identify right of way or, property onto the center of the road. In this case, also there was a situation where the road is not clearly identified historically, so this will clean out the right of way dedications and the access roads as identified, in the proposed plan. Essentially what they're doing now is creating a 13.75 acre lot. Again, as to be used for PC 25-002, which would be a request to rezone to.
Wow. Okay, any questions for Mr. Mendoza? I'll start. So there's already a PUD for the hospital. This is on the south of the hospital, a new PUD. It's not currently zoned under a PUD.
Correct.
So is it just that shaded area that you showed initially?
So the PUD is very reflected in the next application, but this essentially is what's been rezoned to PUD in 2023. I believe in summer 2023. Prior to August, has been zoned PUD for A through the 2019 rezone of the town map.
So the highlighted one was already a PUD. The brown now is going to be a new PUD, or is it going to be added to the
It's going to be
existing,
added to the proposed PUD.
which is going to exclude the one that you highlighted?
It's, it's going to now, the new PUD would incorporate all of this.
So do you have to sunset that PUD, or do you just,
The legal description would then override what was established in 2003 here. You're rezoning the property essentially from a PUD to the proposed Powers Health PUD, and then rezoning C4A to part of that Powers Health PUD. But in order to accomplish that, they also would like to identify this as one lot of record as part of that PUD. To roll into that PUD.
thank you. Any other questions for staff? Is there somebody from the petitioner to speak on behalf of this request? Please state your name and address for the record, please.
David Oddie, 15014 West 153rd Cedar Lake. Our main goal to have this under one PUD is to take outpatient services out of the hospital and build other outpatient buildings in this area. It'll make it much more convenient for our patients to park in the parking garage and get outpatient services quickly and easily. And we're also, at one point, this is probably 1/4 of the development we're planning for that area. So we're planning 100,000 square foot, 4-story building on that property. It'll be on the south west corner of the parking garage, expandable to 6 stories in the future. And also we're looking to probably demo that building eventually in the future, the existing 1-story building that's on that site. The goal is to keep more of the inpatient services in the hospital and separate the outpatient services out of the hospital and provide all private patient rooms throughout the hospital.
Will the emergency room be in the new building then?
No, the
Okay.
emergency department's going to stay exactly where it's at on the first floor. It's convenient and easy to get to.
So you're talking about demoing the existing 1-story building that sits on the corner of 800?
Yeah, in the future.
And so,
That's why we want to encompass all that area in the PUD.
so the 4-story building will be built before that gets demoed?
Yes, and we're gonna leave that up because we think we can build in that corner of the parking lot. I don't know if Sergio can pull up that plan drawing.
That's a huge part.
It's-
The development plan is in the application.
Yeah, so that parking lot in that southeast corner is where this new building is proposed. And it'll be one of, we're thinking 4 buildings that are all encompass that whole existing 800 MacArthur area. We're eventually gonna hopefully tie them all together. It's an ambitious plan.
Is there at this time like a master plan of that, like just a, that we can see?
We can share that with you, but yeah, it'll encompass that whole area where the existing one-story building is.
But not the parking lot, the existing parking lot to the south.
Not yet, no, we're not gonna cross on the south side of Braden at this time. But we'd like to make that all medical development. So we're covered in the future, depending on how big we grow.
It's totaling 100,000 square feet.
The first phase of this building is 100,000 square feet, 4 stories, capable of going up to 6 stories. So we'll put caisson foundations in. Each story will be tied into the parking garage for convenience for our patient, staff, and visitors to get into the building. It'll be typical our construction, concrete structure, concrete columns, concrete pan decks. We're probably going to use either precast panels or limestone cladding on the outside, so it'll match our garage or match the existing building. EPDM rubber roof. Be a lot of storefront across the front of the building at the entrance to make it elegant. Canopy, drop-off canopy on the south side of the building.
A lot of those, the standards or design standards have been identified as part of the PUD, PC 25-002, PC 25-001 is just trying to combine the parcels and the lot of record into one larger lot of record to assist them in moving forward once the PUD is established and implementing those bulk standards, design standards, on procedures. As well as allowing for multiple buildings on that same lot as they've been.
So please help me, Mr. Mendoza, since there isn't a staff report on 25-001, what the process is. Can we roll these all together since it's all one project, or is this one of these processes that have to check the boxes individually?
This is one of the processes that have checked the boxes individually. As the PUD moves forward, we would incorporate the plat, and then we'll incorporate the development standards as part of that PUD.
So we have to make a motion with regards to the preliminary plat, which is a separate, well.
Is the most.
So can you pull up what specifically the preliminary plat is going to change from its current layout?
Well, it's 3, we become 1, right?
That's what I've only here. You've got 3 different parcels. The one here is identified parcel 1.
We don't have that.
We don't have that.
3.
Not in their fact.
So is the top one the parking lot
No,
and the office building?
yes, this one here.
The P.
Pink one, yeah.
Okay.
And scroll down to the one that's going, no, scroll, no, the other way. That's where you're rezoning it to.
That's not a result. That is the flat, the one.
That's what we're looking at, the plat to this.
Dividing those parts right into one.
All the easements are staying the same, that easement out of center with drainage is staying the same.
Correct.
So we're taking 3 parcels and combining it into one.
And then ultimately adding it to the existing for one final PUD.
But they have to combine the parcels into one before they get to the PUD and do all that stuff.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to set PC 25-001, public hearing.
Here's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
In a second, any discussion? Either none, Mr. Mendoza.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper.
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes.
Mr. Nolan,
Yes.
Mr. Rappin.
Yes.
Mr. Schinkin.
Yes.
And Mr. Baker.
Yes. All right, so that means PC 25-002, the rezone to a PUD. We have Mr. Adi still here, is requesting a rezone for CD 4-A and PUD to Powers Health 800 MacArthur planned unit development located 800 MacArthur Boulevard. So with what we just did, now we have to rezone that plat.
There is a, yes, there is a request to rezone the proposed plat into a PUD. That is the area, and then this is the, area that is requesting to encompass the entire proposed PUD.
So it's contingent upon the public hearing of 25001.
Yes, so it ultimately, the PUD is a rezone that will go to the council as a recommendation with the condition that that the plats be recorded, and incorporated into the PUD as well as a development.
So does PC 25002 also go for public hearing before it gets to the council?
Yes, due diligence is held at the plan commission, not at the committee.
Understood. So what's happening in this particular packet that we didn't see in the last one?
So you should have received the design standards that are identified here. This is the Powers Health MacArthur planning unit development standards for bulk and
That's a legal description.
so there's more to that. If you continue on that document, it actually identifies different uses, the lots, the stormwater, everything they've outlined that's required as part of the PUD for its own classification. On the staff report, it identifies different sections, and then the subsections are within that document attached to the B or on the agenda.
Any questions for staff?
Sergio, how does these PUD standards compare to our standards that are in place right now?
The current SD PUD standards do not allow for meeting the plans of the campus, hospital campus expansion. They're limiting on height, limiting on location, and so the proposed PUD would be a separate zone classification, does not comply or meet the current SD PUD standards in the zoning code.
Have we gone through all these standards to make sure, like the building standard, general standards, for not only building materials, signage, all meet our code?
Yes,
Because I didn't think we can have like
Well, they don't-
transparent plastic faces with lettering on. these
so
signs.
that is their PUD. They will not be able to comply with their with our current SD PUD, so they're requesting the Power South PUD. To hold the guidelines that were previously approved. This PUD was established in 1973. The zoning map was updated and rezoned to PC2. Then it was rezoned to PUD, and then again, it was rezoned to CD4A in 2019. And now they're slowly asking to comply or at least create a PUD that would support their existing uses and proposed future uses.
So my question is, are these standards for bulk design and uses from 1973, or does it incorporate the standards that we have now for building
It
materials?
incorporates the standards of the use that they have on the site now.
Question, Mr. Roddick, could you state your name and address again for the record, because this is government.
Dave Body, 15014 West 153rd Cedar Lake.
So with one of those, with those conversations, is that true? And what the hospital and Powers Health is looking to do is continue the existing look, for lack of a better description, into the new buildings and help understand the thought process getting to this point.
It'll be the same construction basically as we have in the hospital. We want to carry that all the way across so it all looks like a campus. So it'll all have that limestone concrete fascia on the buildings.
And all the signage in the existing structures, you're looking to carry that signage package, for lack of a better term, throughout this campus?
Correct. We're planning on updating all the site signs on the campus right now for the Powers Health emblem. So the signs will stay the same square footage size on the campus, just new faces.
What is
Thank you.
When was the original hospital built? I mean.
72, 73. And several additions.
Right, so even though, you want to match the materials, make it look part of the campus, I mean, there is always the opportunity to like make something better, I mean, right now, to me, community hospital, I'm just gonna put this out there, community hospital, to me, it does look a little dated, it looks like a 1970s building, so I would assume we're gonna do something better, right? Like,
You're gonna see a lot more glass on the front of the building, a glass canopy, kind of the Parkview Tower look. A lot of glass facade, so yeah, we'll be bringing it up. Inside will be very elegant.
yeah, I
We
mean, it
use,
doesn't have to match what's currently there,
Right.
right? It can be similar materials but there's
Yeah.
always the opportunity to.
we do our best to build first class.
Yeah.
And make things last.
So. Any other questions for Mr. Adi on this particular slot, the rezone to PUD? So this would be a recommendation to council. Let's say
Well, it's just a preliminary hearing, right?
Correct.
Goes to a public hearing.
This goes.
public hearing before it goes to council.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to set PC 25-002 public hearing.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Let's do it by the roll call, please, Mr. Mendoza.
Ms. Brannigan,
Yes.
Dr. Hopper,
Yes.
Ms. Jones,
Yes,
Mr. Nellens,
Yes.
Mr. Rappin,
Yes.
Mr. Schenkin.
Yes.
And Mr. Baker.
Yes, moving right along is PC 25-003 Development Plan Review. Mr. Adi, who's still here, of Powers House requests development plan approval for a new 4-story medical office building to be part of Powers Health 800 MacArthur Plan Unit Development, 800 MacArthur Boulevard. Say it enough times, it gets a little bit better. Mr. Mendoza, so this is basically the development plan that we have to review as a part of what they're trying to accomplish with this PUD.
Correct. The development plan outlines or is depictive of what the PUD, the previous application, document shows, which is the bulk standards, and setbacks and designs. So, that's what this application is for, because it is a development plan as part of the PUD. It does not require, or it does require a preliminary hearing as part of that, so. I will, ask that Mr. Adi describe or at least indicate he's already started that, but to just continue the proposed development plan.
Before we get to Mr. Adi, is there any other questions for staff on this part of the program? Mr. Adi, this is Governor. Please state your name and address again for the record.
Dave Adi, 15014 West 153rd Cedar Lake, Indiana. So we're proposing to install or develop that southeast corner of 800 MacArthur. That parking lot is for the 800 MacArthur building. We're planning on building a 4-story, 100,000 square foot building. In that profile, it'll be connected to the parking garage. There is adequate parking in the parking garage to cover this new facility. It'll be built on caissons with the capability of going up 6 stories. The exterior shell will be precast or Indiana limestone. A lot of glass facade at the entrance, EPDM roof. The interior will all be metal studs and drywall. Fully sprinkled, 3 elevators, 1 at the parking garage, 1 at the new entrance, 2 at the new main entrance. There'll be 3 stair towers in the building. Like I said, it'll also be capable of going up 2 more stories.
So looking at the elevations, the north elevation obviously is going to be facing towards the hospital and looking over the existing 1-story building.
That is correct.
And the west elevation faces really Calumet Avenue.
Correct.
Are you looking to put signage on that?
We were looking for signage on the south elevation so it'll be visible when you're coming northbound on Calumet Avenue, and also on the west elevation and also the north elevation. Because the building, like you said, it'll tower over that 1-story building. The whole east elevation will basically be facing the parking garage.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to ask a question.
Yes, sir.
Have you, identified yet how you want to do your mechanicals and your, some kind of boiler room and a generator housing?
The mechanicals will be, we're trying to squeeze it all within the 100,000 square foot. There's a possibility we might end up on a 5th floor with the mechanicals all enclosed. There'll be 3 or 4 air handlers, if I remember correctly, or 4 air handlers. All the other equipment will basically be there. There'll be a generator in lot 2 directly south of the building, along with a dumpster enclosure.
But as far as your heat, how about your heat and air conditioning?
Uh,
How will that be generated and where will that equipment be at?
Rooftop units for now?
Pardon me?
Are they rooftop units for now?
Yeah, boilers inside and then,
Air handlers.
chillers in the parking lot or up on the roof.
So they're going on the roof, even though there is a plans to add 2 more floors.
We would have, yes. And we would move them up at that time. We've done that before on some of the other buildings with exhaust fans and other rooftop equipment.
Or possibly skip that floor and then put the 2 on top of that?
Oh, correct.
That's been done also. The original building has the mechanical room.
On 2nd floor, yes. We built above it.
Any other questions on this development plan?
I'm just looking at the elevations, A201 and A202, and it looks so much like community hospitals right now.
It'll tie into that campus look.
I guess that's kind of what I was hoping it wouldn't, but I mean, I don't mean to be like, I'm trying, yeah.
A lot of glass on the southwest corner at the entrance and glass canopy.
I know this isn't an architectural review, but that's my background, so I can't not see it, but.
Sergio, there has to be a sign package for the development plan, correct? Or is that something
They do have one identified in the previous application.
so is it for the entire PUD or is it gonna be specific just to this one development
It
plan?
would be for the entire PUD. That is the legal description that you see in front, memorializing the description of where this is applicable. Your sign package is identified in section F of what the request is as part of this PUD.
So for the guy from IU, I don't get pictures, I just get everything in text?
So these are your policies. Policies don't really necessarily come in pictures, but if you want to see the pictures,
I wanna see pictures of where they're gonna put signs that says Powers Health all over the buildings and all over the monuments and all over everywhere up and down
They
Calumet Avenue.
they would have to comply with the policies of the codes of the PUD and then submit a building permit for that.
The policies of the PUD, which we're establishing right now,
Correct.
which is that the text you just showed me?
Yes.
But clarify, there would be no further discussion regarding the sign package?
This is a preliminary, this is a preliminary hearing.
Right, so after, assuming that it passes through as it is, with each of, there would be no further review. This,
Yes, no, you have the opportunity to continue reviewing the PUD bulk standards, and design guidelines, and give feedback and recommendations for changes that would maybe, whatever the modifications are to that section.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, they'll only come back if there's gonna be another building put into the PUD.
Correct. Any modifications to the PUD, which they
Right.
would return.
So this is just on this particular structure.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
And this is, probably a question, for Mr. Durango. Looking at the drainage, is it just the one area that's got underground storage for now on Calumet Avenue? That's got enough, that the one underground storage on Calumet Avenue, is that the only place? Trying to look at my iPad with underground storage. I've never seen that kind of system, because I've always used like a storm trap system.
It's developed for the whole development. We've accounted for the entire build out on the 800 MacArthur property.
So this is just developed for this addition right now?
No, for
No,
the
it's for the
whole,
entirety.
Oh, it's for the whole
the
thing?
entirety.
What we have done is we have taken the hard surface area that currently.
I'm sorry, Mr. Tringa, but this is government and you have to do the
Oh,
whole,
sorry.
say your name. You've done this
Yeah.
before.
I'm not Dave Ike. Don Torringa, 907 Ridge Road, Torringa Engineering, Munster, Indiana.
Thank you.
So what we have done is we've taken the hard surface area that currently exists at 800 MacArthur, which is substantial. And we have covered with the 4 buildings, because we do know what the 4 buildings are going to look like. And we have taken the difference between the hard surface area that is currently there and the hard surface area that is proposed, and we're providing detention for that amount. Because the site itself, the entire community hospital, does not have stormwater detention.
It looks like it's all underground storage, basically.
It is.
Facility.
It all runs, we have 2 MM4 structures in the northwest corner of the parking lot. That it all is settled out there before it goes into the creek.
Before it goes into school ditch, yes, there are 2 large, are they cylinders?
Yeah, cylinders.
2 large cylinders that collect all of the stormwater from the entire property. And it allows the debris to settle out. And then it is released in the school ditch underneath.
There's a restrictor on there to flush out the release rates.
Correct, yeah.
And I'm sorry, that parking lot, is that the parking lot at Fisher in Columbia, or is that the parking lot we're looking at south of the parking garage?
Where these stormwater things are at,
Correct.
it's the one at Fisher and
So the sizing of that underground at Fisher in Columbia is to take on not only the existing hard surface, but all of the hard surfaces south of MacArthur?
No, because we're not talking about stormwater detention, we're talking about stormwater pollution prevention.
Yeah, MS4.
Yes, so what we're saying is that, normally in the past, before those were put in, the stormwater on the parking lot and the stormwater throughout the entire hospital system just went straight into school ditch. Those were put in, they collect all of the stormwater and it allows in a swirling basin type of setup, which is proved and has been proven in the past that it does work. Allows that sediment to settle out before it goes into school ditch, so the water is considerably cleaner than it would have been.
Thank you. And then the runoff that goes into that particular structure that you just described, does it include all of the hard surfaces owned by the hospital all the way to Franklin?
As far as I know, yes, it does.
Thank you.
There is, if you've seen a picture, which we have presented in the past, there are storm sewers and sanitary sewers and stuff everywhere out here, but I would say,
And no ponds.
and yeah, exactly. I would say, yes, it does. Did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions with regards to the developmental plan review? So it needs to be set for a public hearing.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to set PC 25003 for public hearing.
There's a motion, is there a second?
Second.
And the second, any discussion? Be there none, Mr. Mendoza.
Ms. Branson.
Yes.
Dr. Hopper.
Yes.
Ms. Johns.
Yes.
Mr. Nowens.
Yes,
Mr. Raffin.
Yes.
Mr. Finger.
Yes.
And Mr. Baker.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Sure we'll be seeing each other again soon.
Thank you very much.
No public hearings tonight. Next up is the continued discussion of PC 24-012, the development plan review. Tony Gierzik with E. Anthony Inc. for OSNI is proposing to grant a previously approved development plan impacting the building facade site updates, including the interior renovation of a 10,000 square foot church building into a medical office facility at 9900 Columbia Avenue. Public hearing was closed on 12/10/24. Mr. Mendoza, I remember this one.
I do not remember this one, I was not here. My understanding is that the project is complete, the permit for the exterior work has not been issued. A permit exists for interior work and inspection has occurred for the interior work of the building. And then a site work permit was issued for, identifies for grading, sidewalks, and the work on the detention area. My understanding is now that the project has been completed and they are here asking for development plan approval of the site itself. This project was previously approved under a different plan commission number a year ago, a little over a year ago. The project has been scaled back with regards to landscaping, and parking and the size of the building, so.
And so we did get a package for that, for this particular, petition.
You should have, the same package that you seen last month. There's no changes, there's no updates or changes.
Part of the challenge I thought we had last month was that there was some discrepancy in the line of paperwork.
We received I think the previous month's staff report indicated that there was missing, lighting standards, and that was submitted on November 15th. And then that was incorporated into the staff report that you received on December 10th.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes,
Wasn't
sir.
this building supposed to have an addition to it? Wasn't it supposed to be bigger and all
It was
that?
supposed to be
we
twice the size that, the addition this way. But property owners changed contracts contractors to reduce the scale of the building.
See, this is where I have a problem with this. So we approve one building. We approve it based on parking. We approve it based on the size of the building. Several factors on it. Now, when you bring me this thing, there's a whole parcel of land down Columbia that should be landscaped and heavily landscaped because their building's not there now. I'm not sure if there's a sidewalk down Columbia Avenue. I couldn't tell when I drove past the snow. And I don't remember if there's like a sidewalk down. I think that's down, what's that? Bowen Drive. Yeah, I think there's a sidewalk there. But looking at it, and as a plan commission member, that we're approving one building, then it's going to the building department, and it's almost like a bait and switch, because we don't want to build this building because it's not economically feasible, whatever the reason it is. But it doesn't come back here because we're not approving apples to apples. Now you're coming back afterwards, and we have a totally different building here that would have been landscaped different. You know, there's mechanicals that aren't screened that I see outside when I drove past tonight, and this was just early evening before it got dark. There's been a bunch of things that I would have red flagged approving this compared to what was approved before. And I think that's
The
sidewalk is in.
Hold on a second, sir.
So, yes, that's why they are here before you. We advised them, the contractor, in July, to file for development plan review. They did not file one in August. We reminded them in August that they need a development plan review before the plan commission. They did not file one until September. So they filed a development plan review in September, which put them on the October meeting. There was no quorum in October. I think there was a special meeting, and then there was no meeting in November for the October, or for a November quorum. And then this finally landed before you in December. So the application was filed in September. It just never appeared before you until December 10th.
Because when I drive past, I mean, I see like red flags, like mechanical vents just stuck through the roof. I see NIPSCO power things that aren't covered in the property. I see whole landscaping on that side that's not landscaped. I do not believe there's a sidewalk down Columbia Avenue.
There is a sidewalk
On
down
Columbia?
Columbia Avenue.
Okay.
There is
Everything is landscaped. Its entirety is as it's supposed to be, is for what we submitted. The
Right, we hold on a second, sir, because you gotta do this regular process because it's government. So, back to what was approved before, there was a future phase 2, but that was not something that was supposed to be approved to be built at that time, right? It was a future, building.
Right.
So what changed with what I'm looking for from the last submittal from what they did to what was proposed other than that second building?
your parking lot was reduced. And then the landscaping was modified as well. And then the lighting was, not, this project also received several variances, which were honored as part of the year-long process for approval on a variance, and they complied with that. They have installed a sidewalk, and so, yeah, that's why they were recommended in July to file for development plan review.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? You're up, sir. Please state your name and address as the petitioner representative for the record.
My name is Mark Smith. My address is 6520 179th Street, Tinley Park. I am the senior project manager with the Anthony Incorporated, who's the general contractor on the project. To qualify what we just discussed here, we have installed all of the landscaping. There's landscaping around the building, everything you see here in the lot as well. There is a mechanical screen that covers the all of the condensing units, which faces Columbia Avenue. As far as the phasing, obviously, which Sergio just stated, we only went with the phase one, and everything else was pared down. The parking lot was shrunk a little bit, and again, with the light poles, that was reduced as well. The only two issues that we're aware of that we've gone over with the notes is that the light pole bases, or not bases, but the light poles and the fixtures were in question. Those were previously approved in the first go around in early 2024, in February and in January. So that's the style we replicated when we resubmitted our photometric. Nothing changed from the initial go around with that. The other item that we know that was outstanding was the monument sign. That hasn't changed location. It's on the south end of the facility, and it's the 6-foot sign. We still have to go in for permit for that, and landmark sign will be submitting that. Other than that, those were the only two issues we're aware that were still outstanding.
So what modifications happened to the actual layout of the parking lot? It was, obviously, I heard it was reduced, but it was reduced in the number of spaces, the design. What happens when phase two comes out? We're tearing up the parking lot?
We would have to modify the parking lot to accommodate that, yes.
Thank you.
But we do have the water mains set in place. Everything would be ready. We prepared for the possibility of phase two.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Where was phase two going again? Because I don't remember having,
You can see the south
right
building,
there.
right, yeah, right up there.
Giorgio, why don't we have any trees down Columbia? Why is there any trees planted down Otis, Solon Drive, down the parkways?
That was never part of the original landscaping plan that was approved, and we modified our landscape plan to add additional plantings along the
Well, what
building.
was approved isn't the same that's what was built either.
Correct.
So I'm asking that question.
So I'm looking for the landscape plan.
And I'm surprised on civil drawing there, it shows the sidewalk looking from here on Otis Bowen, but I don't see a sidewalk drawn on Columbia on your civil drawing.
That's the original civils.
Okay.
The updated civils show the sidewalk, which was installed.
Yeah, so the landscape plan didn't have anything on Columbia.
Was that a plan that was shown currently?
Is that the plan that was shown currently? This was the landscape plan in the development documents that were submitted fourth quarter last year. So I'm assuming this is the same. That's what Sergio said.
That was all reviewed and voted and accepted.
Is there? I'm just kind of curious why there isn't anything along the streets. Usually that's something that's all we do is talk about. We didn't talk about that on this one? There's nothing here and there's nothing here. The addition?
There are shrubs that you can see from Columbia Avenue, but there are no trees in that area.
Do you have the document that was presented, the original one?
I do not. We can, go back
Oh, there's future phase 2 right
to
there,
the website.
right?
Yeah.
So this is.
All right, so that's where you were supposed to build right there. That's probably why you didn't have.
Bunch of
There's
landscape.
probably an easement there, right? And probably some NIPSCO lines.
There are, all right.
But I sure as heck would have had you put trees down where that future phase 2 goes, knowing that you weren't putting that future phase 2 in here. I wouldn't have left just that big area with no trees or anything down that area. If you weren't gonna build that, it would have been a totally different conversation that we had, looking at your site layout right here compared to what you built.
And we also talked about how big that parking lot was gonna be for only one building if they didn't do the phases, because it was a big rush to put all of that asphalt down for the one building for the future growth. So now that didn't go in as well. So if that comes out as a part of the new development plan, then that gives the, another bite at the apple with regards to the landscape. There go why the process has to go through the certain linear aspects to make sure that we don't do this kind of thing. All right. They're done, they're closed, they're ready to go. Spent a lot of money in town. That's not what's there.
And once again, I'm not sure how we got to this point, that we approve something in front of this commission, and it's not what was built.
Again, we had met with the building department and
We're not the building department, we're the
I
jurisdictional
understand.
body that approves the building.
but the modifications that took place, we worked with the village, worked with the building department, received a permit for this. We paid our fees. And this was supposed to be a cursory.
So most of the inside, this is what I'm hearing, is the interior's got all the permits because that didn't change. The modifications that were done in the existing structure. So all of the building permits were for the interior structure as far as how I'm reading it. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, the site was approved as well.
Parking lot, the whole site work plan, which
Site
site
was
plan.
not, site work was not listed on the building permit application. The only thing that was approved and inspected was the interior remodel. And the site work permit was issued for grading and installation of the sidewalk. The inspectors went out there, they inspect what's on the permit. The contractor asked repeatedly to inspect other work that was done. They were advised that there's no permit on file for that inspection, so they would not inspect that. The inspection reports do not show inspection, like any site work inspection other than what was unlisted on the permit.
So it sounds like we're building things without a permit, right? And at what point does a town issue citations to a contractor or owner that is building things without a permit?
So there is,
So I can go put a pool in tomorrow and just hope maybe the town doesn't catch me, or
we can pursue, we can discuss this with our attorneys and see what the consequences are for compliance.
So with no site permit, let me understand, was anybody able to take a look from the municipality at what was put in under the existing parking lot?
We did not inspect the existing permit.
So we don't know what's underneath that parking lot.
The building, we had inspections at every stage of the game out there, from digging the pond, or digging the detention pond, site work, we've had.
So if you have paperwork for that, then I would highly suggest that goes to Mr. Mendoza's office.
Okay,
So the inspection was done for the drainage, for the detention, because that was listed on the site work permit. The grading was inspected as part of the site work permit. the installation of the landscaping, the installation of the sidewalk, or the, parking lot. The exterior was not part of any building permit that has been released by the town.
So you're saying exterior, you're talking about the curbs, the gutters, the asphalt, the grading, the parking lot, what are you talking about exterior?
The exterior work that was done, that you see there now. There was no permit for any of that, the signage, there was no permit for the signage either,
The light pole bases,
nothing.
so how do you inspect the electrical for light pole
We
bases?
don't inspect it, we don't inspect anything.
We have inspections for all of the electric that happened there. We have.
How do you have, my question is, being a builder, right?
Mhm.
How do I go and get an inspection on something? I'm doing stuff in Aurora right now. If I don't have a permit number with that direct thing showing that, how do I get an inspection off a permit that hasn't been issued or?
Again, we were issued a full permit for the project. All the inspections were done per usual, rough inspections,
That's not
everything.
what I'm hearing on your end. I'm hearing that some part were issued, but others weren't.
We've got the permits that were released and inspection reports that were completed, none of them identify the work that you see there today.
Then why did they come out and inspect these items if,
They inspected the building permits for the interior work, which includes electrical, and they also inspected the site work that was identified on the building permit for just the site work. Does not include the electrical, the light post, the installation of the parking lot. Those are all separate permits that were not released. Because we understand that we also need development plan approval by the planning commission before a permit can be released.
Okay.
okay,
So,
why are we allowed to go ahead with anything if this is, you know, that it makes no sense that we get everything inspected
You
and
were
then.
not allowed, told that you're moving forward because it is a risk to you. Your response or the response from the contractor was, I promised my clients that they would be in at the end of the year, and that's what I'm going to get done.
Okay, so, anything else, sir, that you'd like to say?
No, we proceeded and worked alongside the village in plain sight. Everything that we did was approved. We paid for our permit. We proceeded as we normally would on a project. And again, this was supposed to be from our meetings. This was going to be a cursory approval because everything that was installed was per the original drawings that we had. We didn't change any facade colors, anything like that. It was just a modification of what was originally submitted, period.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
this begs the question, why this project was allowed to continue forward and why it wasn't red tagged and stopped. That's
Yeah.
truly the case. They didn't have permits, didn't have authorization for that work, shouldn't have been allowed. I'm just asking.
We did discuss issuing a stop work order, and there was some concern or discussion on the legal aspect of issuing and the process for issuing a stop work order.
Miss Bennett, welcome. So looking for a little insight as it relates to another unique scenario as just somebody that's trying to volunteer to help the community be a little better place on what we're dealing with here.
Yes. What I'm hearing, first and foremost, a development plan, as you're all aware, is obviously the proposal of what's to be developed. It is not approval across the board of all conditions. So the lighting plan, for example, just because it was on a development plan, if it doesn't comply with the code, they're still required to go to BZA for variance. My understanding is that wasn't done even at the original development plan that was approved. Development plan is not final approval to proceed forward on everything. So the fact that the lighting was in place, even under the original approval from last year of, let me rephrase it, even under the original approval of the development plan as being what the proposed development would look like, still had to meet the other criteria. So as to that issue, as to the other permits that were issued, from what I've seen, those are as indicated for the site work and the interior model. It's not even the inspection showing you that and what was approved did not extend to the complete project, did not extend to the complete plan that was laid out in the development plan. So the fact that they proceeded forward without the proper permits, what action, legally could have been taken then, is the same as what can be taken now regarding that project. If there is, obviously, things that were constructed that were not approved according to that, not only does that stop work, but also operating out of that business theoretically is not proper occupancy, and there's a matter, and there's a series of different actions that the town can take.
So with somebody investing money in the community, let's try to see if there's a way that we can keep the lawyers out of it, even though I'm a big fan, right?
That's always the plan.
Let's try to see if there's a way to get the place open for operation, still having safety concerns addressed, seeing if there's an opportunity to be able to look at some of the things that were not inspected from the town's, thought process, to see if there's a way to get out there and take a look at it. Corings, do something from that standpoint. Is it gonna be perfect? No, but it doesn't sound like this is tracking on that scenario anyway. Hold on, sir, I'll give you a chance, just let me work through this. I'm sorry?
No, I was gonna disagree that there are ways to document the responsibility and the work that was done and to protect the town.
So if we can try to move that way as quickly as possible. Now, is there anything inside the building that, how do I phrase this? Is there anything that would stop them from opening as it pertains to all the permits and the things that were done? Or is the majority of concerns on the outside in the parking lot area?
My understanding is the majority of the concern is on the outside. My understanding is that the inspections were performed appropriately for the interior remodel.
So there's no real concerns from the standpoint of public safety as it relates to the renovation of the building to be taking it from a church to an office building?
I would say there is no real concern for the interior renovation of taking the church to medical office building.
So currently this parking lot issue is what's holding them up from opening the operation as it pertains to the medical.
They're already operating.
They're already operating.
We're not. No, we're not, no.
So again, it's just an inspection that's done after the approval of the development plan, so it has not occurred yet.
Has there been a occupancy permit issue?
No, they're not open.
This has not been issued.
Yes, sir. You want to say something?
Name and address.
Please come to the podium and say your name and address so we know.
My name is Dr. Sunil Deddy. I'm one of the partner physicians, owners of this building. And just a little bit of background from kind of how all this started is that we initially are, 3 orthopedic partners here who call it Franciscan in Munster Community Hospital, are doing our very best to kind of serve the community. And this started off as necessitating a move to a different facility or place. Originally, we had engaged Region, and we were going to do a remodel of that existing facility, potentially an add-on to that extra building. We got our quotes and the numbers, and it far exceeded what we had expected when we went out to bid. And so we scaled the project to just basically renovate that existing structure. And I've even sat here in meetings previously. I don't have the luxury of time to come to all the meetings during the daytime. I apologize for that. But again, we run a busy clinical practice, operating, so on and so forth. And I mean, at this stage, our goal is really to try. I know it hasn't been perfect, as you guys suggest, but our goal is to get occupancy of this building. I mean, primarily because we need a place to continue to see our patients and serve, the orthopedic needs of this community. And if we don't, then that's going to cause a huge delay in care.
Duly noted. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, doctor, we feel your pain. We're not just picking on you. There's a standard. I mean, whether it's Dr. McComas' office or any other medical office, there's a standard of things that we do in Munster.
Sure.
And when, things get changed on us and it's not the same, it's tough for us to come back a year after the fact and try to reinvent the wheel. That's the problem here. So we understand that, you want to get operating and working in a facility. We want that too, but there also has to be some safeguards on the public to make sure there's extra landscaping you have to address where the building you were supposed to put up there, now it's an empty green lot. There's gonna have to be some items on your table that you're gonna have to make sure this is done whole and done right.
Yeah, I mean, our goal is to comply. I just wanted to give you background as to why the original plan got submitted and then got modified. It's because the cost of the project far
Yeah, money.
exceeded the initial quotes.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bring it back to the board. Ms. Bennett or Mr. Mendoza is,
One more.
oh, okay, yes, sir.
I apologize. Thank you. My name is Antonio Belmonte. I am, I work for the group in terms of I built them homes, et cetera. I'm a builder in Munster. I live in Munster for 36 years. I was involved in the design and in these meetings. I personally sat down in a meeting with Mr. Mendoza, who, by the way, invited the previous builder that we requested in writing not to be there. They were paid in full. I sat in that meeting. DVG was there, the engineer. They did all the engineering on the pond. They did all the engineering on the revised parking lot. They revised the parking lot. The discussion in that meeting was about landscaping. The sidewalk was not there along Columbia. Other items, fence, this, that, and that. And we said, fine. We'll get, and DVG went in, they designed everything. NIPSCO designed, we talked about the loop for the water system because they had to bring in a main because now the building's sprinklered. I go there almost every day throughout this project. When we did the apron off of, what street is that?
Otis Bowen.
Yeah, you know, it was like, oh no, you have to put concrete here, has to be, how many inches thick was it, et cetera? The parking lot, once all the grading was done and obviously was inspected, retention pond, all the drainage, all the sewer, pipes, everything was put in. That was months. And, then when they were coming in to inspect, all the curbs were there. All the stuff was there. It didn't just go up in the day. The comment that Mr. Mendoza made about, we're going to do this or nothing, that was not the case. We had submitted, like Mr. Mendoza informed you earlier, we had submitted it in September, but then there was a reason why it got canceled, et cetera, and then it got pushed to December. Nobody was hardballing this or trying to go in there. It's in terms of the exterior finishes and the exterior, that was all part of the plans that were submitted. All those finishes were on there. Now, obviously, they were approved before, and then there has been some changes, but like, there's been no inspections for this and that. The original comment, if we go back to the notes, no, nothing outside was inspected. And then we're like, yes, it was. I mean, I was there. I saw Chuck come in. I saw Glenn come in. They weren't just going inside. They were looking at the whole project. And informing us like the apron, which is code now, you can't just asphalt, you know. And then in terms of the parking lot, Mr. Mendoza and the clients recommended that we actually add more parking lot because that's more than what we need in terms of parking. But the reason they did that, if I may, there's no curb here. Everywhere there's a curb. There's a curb everywhere. This is all curved. This is all curved. There's no curb here. And the reason there's no curb is for that second phase and the expansion, it'd be a lot easier to do that. But it's all the drainage, all these calculations from DVG, they're all calculated based on phase 2, not just phase 1.
Understood. I think
So-
we're all caught up, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I just would like to, as a point, to identify that, the meeting that he's referencing, we have minutes of, I was not in attendance in that meeting, so I'm not quite sure why he identified that I was at that meeting. So there's definitely 36 pages of emails that he was advised, the contractor was advised on the process. And in those emails, you can identify or language where the contractor says that he is on the deadline and needs to get this completed.
I understand.
So I would be willing to share this with the attorney and anyone else, so that way there's a better understanding of what actually occurred.
So thank you. And let me just say that as a big fan of the attorneys, let's try to keep them out of this. And also let's not vet out the who's who in the world of sports and what happened before. Let's see if we can't get to a solution to get you guys open. So my question to you, Sergio, and to you, Ms. Bennett, is what's required of this particular body for this subject matter to be able to provide a path for a certificate of occupancy? Is it approval of a development plan? Is there, what's needed from this bureaucratic entity to move this forward?
We need an approved development plan from the plan commission, and then they need to submit the, building permits for inspection.
So wait, so the development plan that we've already approved, the only thing that's different that I see is the parking lot configuration. That
The size of the building, there were significant changes, reduction.
the size of the building, I thought it was the existing building.
They
The
did-
light poles are different,
the
right?
light poles. I mean, they pose the same light poles, but that does not comply with the current, zoning.
The parking lot, the building, and the landscaping, and all of that was originally approved. So that's where a full new development plan is required.
So the requirement of the developer is to come in and do a completely new development plan by not doing a phase two.
You can't consider it a phase two, it's a phase one.
Well, I
We
mean,
have to treat this parcel like there was no ever phase two. So just scrap phase two out, it's a phase one.
okay, so the fact that the parking lot doesn't look like the original development plan, that's the issue.
And there's, like Sergio said, there's light poles issues, there's landscaping issues.
But if my understanding is correct, the updated plan is what was submitted in September, October, and within the lighting plan period in December.
Like in November.
I'm sorry, in
What?
November, for the updated for the current construction.
Correct.
But that plan was submitted September, October, but never made it here.
Correct.
So to
But
me,
that's-
that's like the first time I'm seeing it.
Correct. Just a response, Mr. Baker, will you that's be submitted now? No, that is what came in and what is part of the discussion now that it's that amended plan.
So this was submitted in September, the one I'm looking at now, which is this one, right? It was submitted in September and just never came to us because of quorums and things like that. Okay, thank you. I'm trying, gentlemen.
So that development plan, Mr. Baker, that would need to be reviewed and approved as well as, that this body has the ability to approve. The only thing this body cannot, as a final, approve the concept of the development plan for purposes of the lighting, but that would have to go to BZA if they're not going to comply with the current code. To request variance.
I understand. And I mean, just the modification, because what I'm seeing is a 10,000 square foot building that's got a lot of improvements done to it that meets a certain plan that we've already seen. Can't be used because of some of the things that are happening in the parking lot and fixtures.
So the building was reduced.
The building was reduced.
Building was reduced, landscaping was reduced, and parking lot reduced.
The way I read it was that the building was the existing structure. They knocked some of it down.
No, sir.
No, it's just random.
That is correct, sir. There was an.
Hold on a second.
It did not proceed with phase two. There were significant
Right.
changes to the original development plan that was approved. They were required to come in and submit a new application and present it before the planning commission.
Understood. But the original building that was the church is the same 4 walls and a roof.
Correct.
Okay. Remember, I won't tell you not to produce, so hold on. All right, so
I think we got-
the four walls and the roof have all been improved. Everything there has been things that have been presented to the town. The only thing that wasn't correct was the design of the parking lot and the fixtures of
And landscaping,
and the landscape, right?
The exterior work was not.
exterior signage.
I mean, but is there a way for us to work on those things while trying to help the new business in town open?
You can give a temporary occupancy.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Why is it taking so long?
That's filed for the permits.
What's that?
That's filed for the permits.
Right.
And then request inspections on that.
So there's a path for them to open quickly without having to go through a redevelopment plan and go through a whole new set of scenarios to the point where.
This is the plan that we have before you. This is what they're proposing, this is what they're building.
Ms. Bennett, do you, recommend like a timeline if they don't meet certain standards? I mean, do you lose your temporary occupancy permit if things aren't improved, what the town wants?
If you proceeded, obviously there was a public hearing on this later in December, so you have it at your disposal to be able to approve. If the development plan was approved by this body, then yes, following that, to proceed with the permits, applications for the permits and the inspections, for that exterior parking lot and the landscaping pursuant to the modified plan that was public hearing, heard by the public hearing in December. That should be able to happen very quickly, I would presume.
Gentlemen, could you all sit down? You're making me nervous.
But that could even be
Thank you.
within that time period. It's really just going to be the onus on the commissioner to be able to find to do that, because the town's obviously available and whether committee would be able to believe that that would be done.
Honestly, I think at the last staff report I made was that the recommendation be to approval contingent upon compliance with the lighting plan. If we do not want to comply with the lighting plan, as Attorney Bennett mentioned earlier, it would be a matter before the BZA.
But there's also other issues, obviously, the signage good, I want to redress the landscape plan regarding, it's only a phase 1 project, not a phase 2, because there's other parcels that I think you need to look at.
But couldn't you do that as a
You
contingency?
can, of
for
course,
the
that's what I'm
temporary?
saying.
Okay.
I'm saying that, yeah, but I mean, I think there's items that we need to look at down the road.
Right.
While still establishing and letting them have a temporary occupancy permit.
Well, we can't necessarily vote on providing them temporary occupancy. That's
We need to
outside of
address
this,
it all.
right? Just,
Yeah.
but how do you infer that the approval of this is providing that particular path?
Your action, as you say, at this point would be in regard to the development, into the modified, or actually modified into the development plan that's filed under PC 24012, right? And, as to, for example, as to, as is proposed, with the intention to return to address landscaping
lighting,
next month,
signage.
perhaps signage next month, so that then that allows for those others to proceed forward. And it's kind of a not the typical pattern in which to do, but it would accomplish in part what you're talking about, and then it allows for those permits and inspections to be done immediately with that approval, but that obviously then would turn into with that partial, that approval contingent on those things being set over to be addressed in February. That then if the permits were acquired and inspections were completed, to then get that temporary occupancy to then be revisited in February, if you're putting that out as conditional.
It would have to come back here?
If you're looking to still review the landscaping,
Yeah.
the signage and determinations, the petitions we need to make on lighting.
So it's lighting, it's landscaping,
Lighting, landscaping, signage,
Signage.
mechanical screen that there,
and a mechanical screen. Yes.
Well, the landscape drawing should show the current sidewalk there installed down Columbia. I know this one does not.
So if that happens, it gets the approval, then tomorrow there's a path for them to get a temporary occupancy?
Well, they first had to come in and apply for their permits and get those inspections, and then as soon as those are completed, on the existing,
Inspections, not on the inside, inspections on the things that we're talking about as contingencies.
inspections on those outside, so some of the site work and, the interior, so the other would be the rest of the side of the building.
Inspections on that, particularly since they will look at inspection reports, but in speaking to the inspectors, they did not inspect that work. We would just need something from the contractor to install the work that they are liable for anything that may occur in the future that it was not properly inspected by the town.
And then partial occupancy or temporary occupancy. could be issued.
Well, because in the frozen tundra, they can't do anything outside, so they're not gonna be able to do anything. So then it's all of a sudden another 3 months, and that kind of is defeating that purpose. But is that a scenario that's viable, that can be done at a future time? Because once they open, you're not, well, you can close them, I suppose.
That was my question. Can they be granted temporary occupancy until such time, with the ability for us to revoke that?
But they for the parking lot, the lighting, the signage, and the landscaping,
It's complete,
that's been submitted.
but the work has to be.
Okay. The work can't be done when it's frozen, so that can't hold that up. I mean,
The work's done, remember.
the work's done.
But not compliant to.
Yeah, I mean, it might be ads and fixes, but
There's
Landscaping and.
an updated landscaping drawings gotta be showing.
And that's not gonna be done,
Till
Right.
spring.
the work isn't gonna be done till spring anyway, but obviously that gives the time, that's right.
Right.
To roll that part of it over to next month is.
right.
Still under a conditional or temporary occupancy permit.
Well, your action here today would be required on the development plan to then be able to proceed with finalizing these permits, inspections, and the temporary occupancy.
So there's no real time frame on that. It's more the checklist than a time frame.
Correct. I mean, it could happen in the sense of those approvals or those permitting all that, as Mr. Mendoza said, that could be obtained through the contractors that did the work for assurances that they had complied, that would take liability off the town.
But even still, the work that would remain. There's no
Definitely
time
until
frame.
spring
It's just a checklist, and obviously that plan has to be resubmitted.
Mr. Chair, Sergio, so everything right now, as you see in the parking lot, meets civil engineer's design regarding retention, drainage, everything else, right?
Based on the drawings and prints that are submitted, the engineers have reviewed and agreed that they do, whether they were constructed, inspected, that's a different matter.
All right, let's do something. We gotta check some kind of box off of this body for this thing to move forward, or we're just gonna be creating an obstacle. And yes, this is not the normal path, but as a product of the 70s, I like contrarian stuff.
So can't we give them a temporary based on?
We can't give them anything. I mean, we give them approval of the development plan with contingencies of things that
Yeah.
need to be done, to which that checks the box off of this group to be able to move that forward under the guide. And correct me if I'm wrong, they're gonna try to give them a temporary occupancy permit as soon as possible.
So what can we do right now?
I'll make
to
a
get this
motion.
going?
I'll make a motion for PC 24-012 developmental plan review, for approval, based on the following items being submitted to Plan Commission. We're looking for, updated landscaping drawing, showing also the sidewalks that were installed along Columbia and existing ones on Novus Bowen. We're looking for, a lighting plan. We're looking for a signage plan. And we're looking for the mechanical screening around the property. So those 4 items need to be bring back.
So there's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
And a second, any other discussion? Comments from staff? Either none, Mr. Mendoza.
Ms. Renier,
Yes.
Dr. Hall,
Yes.
Ms. John,
Yes.
Mr. Mellon,
Yes,
Mr. Rappin,
Yes.
Mr. Shinkin.
Yes.
And Mr. Weaver.
Yes, and please do the best we can to try to get these folks as open as soon as possible. Thank you for your patience, gentlemen and lady. Next up is the findings of facts. Putting cheaters in it, so is there something? PC 24-007, a
Thank you.
PUD amendment from Andrew Cornell, VRQ LLC, representing Power South, favorable recognition to the town council to amend the community hospital plan unit development to add a cogeneration unit to the northeast side of community hospital located at 901 MacArthur. This went through. This is a finding of facts. What say you?
Chairman, I make a motion to approve PC 24-007.
There's the motion. Is there a second? Any discussion? Either none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None. Next up is PC 24-011, the development plan review. Devarshi Patel, property owner, received development plan approval with conditions to construct a 2-story, 12,664 square foot medical office building at 120 Calumet Avenue. You passed all this stuff, following the conditions, that's a big one, please. Yes, sir.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve PC 24-01.
There's a motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
And a second, is there any discussion? Be there none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? That passes. Any other business for the good of the order?
Mr. Baker,
Yes.
I don't want to be a dead horse, but obviously when issues come up like this, we just want to make sure, one, people aren't building stuff they shouldn't. Stop work orders to be issued immediately, I think. We should also keep an eye on old plans that were passed. I believe we have a timeline in our orders, don't we? So, I mean, there's lots of places out there. Pizza Hut property is one. I mean, we want to make sure that we come and get a building permit and that was approved 3 years ago and they get one. Next thing you know, the town will decide we don't want that kind of building on Root Road or something, like the rise out, things like that.
Is there a process for that, or is that
Start
something?
over.
Exactly, you resubmit. So the reason why they were advised to resubmit is because the planning commission approved the plan in 23. And the planning commission is expecting to see what they approved. If what they're expecting to see approved does not get built in a year, there's going to be questions, why did this not get built and not see this other plan?
Right. Well, I get it. I mean, it was, it's a byproduct of a communication challenge. All right, I got two more things here. The document is for the 2025 Plan Commission meeting schedule. I clicked on that link and I got the BZA, but I'm assuming that's the
Same day.
same thing. Next, regular business meeting is February 11th, 2025. There's nothing else. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Is there anybody that wants to stick around? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you for your help in making this a better place to live.
Well executed.
Our Hoosiers.
That's exactly why, I mean, all of the questions, the way you